Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Summarized AI. As part of this video, we are going to talk about rate limiting and how we can use different algorithms to implement rate limiting. Suppose you have a user and user made a request to a server. Server processed that request and returned the response. Up till here, everything looks good. We are sending the request and getting the response. But point to be noted here, our server will only be able to process 200 requests at max. If we are sending more than 200 requests, our server may get down. Suppose we send 1000 requests per second to the server. And as we discussed earlier, our server capacity is to process only 200 requests. Now, if we are going to send these many requests to the server, then server may not be able to process these requests and may get down. And this is where the concept of rate limiting comes in picture, where we have to limit our server to only accept 200 requests. And if we are getting requests more than that, either you have to drop those requests or keep them in waiting list. And to achieve this, we have multiple algorithms which are available in market. Now, to implement this rate limiting, we can use one of the algorithm, which is token based rate limiting algorithm. To make things easy, I'm considering my server is capable to handle 5 requests per second. Now, suppose we have a bucket and there is a system which is releasing 5 tokens per second. And in this bucket, we can only have 5 or less than 5 tokens. Now, suppose if we get a request will reach out to the server and we can see in our bucket, we have 5 tokens available. This request will use one of the token and process this request successfully. Now, again, the request comes and this time also it will use one token and process the request again. Similar to this, we get 3 more requests within 1 second and consume the tokens and process the request. Now, here it comes the 6th request within the same second. Now we don't have any token available within this bucket. In this case, either the request will get reject with the response code 429, which says too many requests, or we can keep this request in waiting list, which means once the first second is completed, then in the second, we will get 5 more tokens. And using one of the token, we can complete this wait request. Let's talk about the scenarios. So the very first scenario is we have a bucket, and in this bucket, we have 5 tokens available. Now, for the first second, we did not get any request to the server. And in the same second, if we get any request, that request will consume one of the token and process the request. Now, what is going to happen in the third second if we don't receive any request? In this case, it will add one token to the bucket so that it will maintain the max count of 5. And this is how token-based algorithm works for rate limiting. Let's quickly talk about leaky bucket algorithm, which we use for rate limiting. And let's try to understand same in detail. Imagine we have a bucket with a small hole at the bottom and water is continuously coming out through this hole at a controlled rate. So the water here is leaking out at a constant speed of 3 drops per second, regardless how much water is inside the bucket. Now, at the same time, water is being poured into the bucket from a tap. Sometimes the water flow is slow, and at the other times, it can be very heavy. As long as the incoming water stays within the bucket's capacity, everything works smoothly. The axis is regulated by the steady outflow. However, once the bucket becomes full, any additional water has nowhere to go and simply spills over. Now here, bucket represents to a server and tab represents to the number of requests coming to the server. And all requests are getting collected in the bucket. And every second, the server processes only 3 requests. Here, the overflow represents the point where the server reaches its capacity, and any additional incoming requests are dropped or rejected based on the implementation. The key idea is simple. No matter how bursty or unpredictable the input is, the output remains smooth and consistent. Logging system is one of the example of leaky bucket algorithm, where log events are added to the bounded buffer or bucket as they are generated by the application. The logger processes and writes logs at a fixed rate, while access logs are dropped when the buffer reaches capacity.